What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka All Fires Now. Almost unbelievably, as if they have no choice, Sony continues to build out their live-action Spider-Verse that still doesn't have a Spider-Man, as they're about to wrap up the Venom franchise trilogy. And while no one would have blamed them for taking a minute or years or a decade off to try to retool after bombs like Morbius and Madam Web, still, Venom 3 is on the horizon, and we just got the brand new trailer for Kraven. But on the back of that Kraven trailer, we had a huge bombshell update coming from none other than industry insider Daniel RPK that actually indicates that Sony is blocking characters from Marvel, whether indirectly or directly, making it even harder for Marvel Studios to produce Spider-Man movies. And while it seems back to front that the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery that's tied up with legal rights at a different studio would slow down production on Tom Holland's Spider-Man, considering what kind of money one of those make and the kind of money the other ones don't, unbelievably that is the case. We're going to break down the latest update, what Daniel RPK says about what's going on, what it ultimately means for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and where in the world this all goes with Sony Spider-Verse. But first, if you could, quick reminder, hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. Still doing the PS5 giveaway. The next one is next month with Agatha all along. All you got to do, be a sub, leave a comment if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so after the trailer dropped yesterday, Daniel RPK updated and said that Kraven has three main villains, Rhino, Calypso, and Chameleon. He then added that whenever Sony uses a villain in one of their films, they actually block Marvel Studios from using that same villain, which means there aren't many left for MCU Spider-Man to face off against. Now, it would seem back to front, as I mentioned moments ago in the prologue, to be making these really crappy movies that make nothing over in the Sony Spider-Man universe without a Spider-Man, and then not being able to use those same villains in actual Spider-Man movies over at Marvel Studios. And if you're wondering at this point why they haven't just capitulated and used a Spider-Man, it's because they can't. Legally. Literally, these studios signed contracts that actually hold each other back. Now, this would all be fine and well if everything was fine and well with how Spider-Man has been going in the MCU. And it's not the movies themselves. The movies have been fantastic. It's everything that happens in between the movies, like between Far From Home and No Way Home, when Tom Holland's Peter Parker got yanked out of the MCU and then reinserted back in, but was in limbo for a month because of contractual agreements. And what's been happening with the current state of the film, as production seems like it keeps getting kicked down the road further and further. No announcements, now closing in on a half decade from when the last film was released. And what's even crazier is that they're under the gun. There is a clock literally ticking down for how fast they have to release this Spider-Man movie, or else the rights would just bounce back to Disney. And in the middle of all this, we're now hearing reports that one of the things that may be holding them back is the lack of ability to use characters or character sharing agreement between the two studios that really makes it harder for either of them to thrive. Now, luckily, Spider-Man has one of the largest and widest breadth of rogue galleries out there in the comics. There are plenty of villains they can still use in the MCU that they haven't used in these Sony Spider-Man films. But man, honestly, they've tried. Look at the post-credit scene for No Way Home, and then all of a sudden seemingly undone by the latest trailer for Venom. And while they may find a way to reconcile all that, they were trying to bring the symbiote into the MCU. It's my hope, like the original Secret Wars story, that we're still headed for a black suit Tom Holland. And actually, quick side note, it's Mr. Fantastic, who we now also are about to have in the MCU, that ends up blasting it off of him. Again, that's in the 1980s run for Secret Wars, not the latest Jonathan Hickman. That would include Miles Morales, which has also been talked about and on the table for live action, but has been indicated by the top brass over there that they're not going to touch that until they make more movies with Tom Holland. It's just that we have no updates about that, no director for that film, seemingly no news about the script, and now reports that Sony's actually holding Marvel back in certain ways. Now, speaking of getting held back, you'll guys notice in the very first sentence of this video, if you go back and listen, that I said it's almost as if Sony has no choice, and they really don't. Their best option for how this should have gone down was to basically license all of these characters under their agreement back to Marvel Studios, let them do what they were going to do anyway, and send them checks. And you could say that Marvel has hit a slump here, so to speak, but the Spider-Man movies have not been the problem. Very generally, Spider-Man is one of their most popular characters, and Sony knows that, and that's why they have been bitterly holding on. Because if you're not aware of sort of studio sizes or the landscape of Hollywood, as a lot of smaller studios start to close now, unless they're subsidiaries of much bigger production studios, there are far and far fewer fewer that replicate or sort of look like Sony than look like Disney or Marvel. Disney and Marvel have unlimited money. Disney produces so many films, Marvel's only one small division. Sony, on the other hand, as an actual movie house, is extremely small. They don't make a ton of movies. So when you are the size of Sony and you have an absolute powerhouse IP like Spider-Man, you will do whatever it takes to hold on to it to the bitter end, including release Spider-Man villain movies that just pit villains against villains without actually having a Spider-Man. I mean, it's almost insane to say out loud if it hadn't become the norm, and there's plenty of spider heroes that they could possibly use to enhance these films, but it looks like the first time we're going to get one is Spider-Man Noir with live-action Nicolas Cage coming up on Prime, which, fingers crossed, lives up to the hopes and expectations that I have. Still, it seems like an absolute mess, and even worse than that, really just detracts from what the fans can expect from these films, really holds back the characters, so to speak. I mean, look, that Kraven trailer yesterday, aside from the CGI on the Rhino, which somehow it looks like they lifted from the video game but made way worse, and I actually have a theory that it's got a lot to do with the coloring on him, different video. But what I'm saying is that if you inserted a Spider-Man into yesterday's Kraven trailer instead of the Rhino, this movie would look so much better, would feel so much better, just a movie from the villain's perspective. And you don't have to have Tom Holland's Spider-Man. You just suit up a Spider-Man on the other side from him and don't actually interact with him the same way you don't interact with some villains on a deep level. The movie's right there. They just can't do it because of the contracts. And like, guys, you made the contracts, you signed the contracts, you didn't have any foresight to see how this would actually play out in real time. And again, we're going to have a Venom franchise that's going to wrap in the next year or so, and it looks like with no Spider-Man. So you guys let me know all your thoughts down below. Ultimately, in a perfect world, we would see all of the rights consolidated under Disney's roof, but again, because of the things I said during this video, I don't think Sony would ever consider selling them unless it's part of a much bigger deal and the IP gets shuffled around. Say someone buys Sony and then the Spider-Man rights bounce back to Marvel, and hopefully whatever they end up deciding to do for Spider-Man 4 won't be heavily impacted by the fact that most of these villains are stuck on the Sony side and never going to cross over. I mean, it was said they were looking to do a Spider-Geddon or some sort of live-action Sinister Six, but you kind of got to throw your hands up at this point and be like, okay, whatever you say, because I mean, really, I can't ever see Morbius coming back into production in any way. In a Spider-Man film, in his own film, I mean, Sony's just not going to throw money at that. You can say the same for Madam Web, which to me says that their Spider-Geddon dreams are dead in the water. It looks like the same for Sinister Six. Again, they should just give these characters to Marvel and tell them where to send the check. That's just my opinion. You guys let me know all your thoughts down below. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel. The next one's next month. Super simple to be entered to win. Hit the sub button, leave a comment down below, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. The best way to keep up with the content at the channel has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name is Michael Roman. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can find me on all platforms where you can find original music under the name All Fires. I appreciate you guys checking out the channel. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.